In the heart of our fields lies the future of agriculture, sustainable, innovative, and powered by smart solutions. From the rich soil of Africa to high-tech farms around the globe, agriculture is evolving to meet the demands of tomorrow. At the intersection of tradition and technology, we discover smarter ways to grow more, waste less, and harvest greener. Together, we are called.
Hello and welcome to Agriculture for Today and Tomorrow. Here we promote smart solutions for greener harvest. My name is Daniel Black as usual, and this is a Media for Agricultural Development project of GSAI, that's Growth for Sustainable Agriculture Initiative, the NGO that is focused on supporting African farmers to develop and maintain sustainable agricultural practices. We have been discussing severally on different themes, trying to encourage young people, trying to encourage innovative people to come into agriculture, to invest in agriculture, to improve the agricultural landscape of Nigeria, thereby also supporting the food security fight of the government, and of course globally that's a menace that is ongoing. So today on the show we will be discussing a very key topic. This is a very sensitive topic, as in this time and age so many young people want to go into businesses that can only fetch them quick money, fast and easy. But agriculture, some are also coming with the mindset that agriculture can be a quick money scheme, a Ponzi scheme of the sort. So today we want to discuss on a very, very sensitive topic: starting small in agriculture, the challenges and the benefits. Starting small in agriculture, the challenges and the benefits. And we have a very, very capacitous, if I will use that word, a guest in the house that has the capacity, because he has been someone that has groomed, or on his own I have seen him groom small businesses that are now growing from small business and are becoming very well structured businesses. And he has not just done it for himself, he has brought in some other businesses that have also grown and are now structured. So we brought him here to discuss, and yes, of course he is also into the agricultural space, and we brought him here to shed more light on how to start small, what are the challenges, what are the benefits. We are talking of Mr. CHISOM E. Anoliefo. He is the Group CEO, Dial and Trust Holdings. Mr. CHISOM, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
CHISOM, this your title is not a small title. Group CEO, Dial and Trust Holdings. Tell us about it.
Okay.
Dial and Trust Holdings.
It's also good to, since we are discussing the topic starting small.
Yeah.
It's also good to state that Dial and Trust Holdings didn't just wake up one morning and become a holding company. We started as a small business, registering as a business name with the name Mycin Enterprise.
Wow.
From there we transitioned, incorporated other companies before we now have what we call Dial and Trust Holdings. So basically Dial and Trust Holdings is an investment company that is interested in key sectors in Africa, which includes agriculture, of course, also real estate, hospitality, and we are equally looking at finance as we progress.
Wow. Dial and Trust Holdings. Okay, so yes, thank you for that introduction, but let's tilt into the agriculture. Let's go into the core focus. I know that you have some investments in agriculture, and of course I'm also privy to how some of them started, right? So this question I'm asking, I know that you'll be answering out of practical knowledge. So did you start small, especially in the agricultural space?
That's quite funny, because okay, like you said, I'm going to be very, very much practical.
Please, by all means.
I started small.
Don't just say you started small, define small.
When I mean small,
did you have one feather and today you have 200 chicken?
When I mean small, when I started my poultry farm, I started with 20 birds.
Okay.
At the balcony of my house.
Balcony of your house?
Yes.
Great.
That is where I started from.
Okay.
Then from there we we grew them. I learned in the process, because period before then it wasn't like I was an agricultural expertise or maybe a poultry expertise or a veterinary doctor.
Okay.
I had no experience. As a matter of fact, I started learning online.
Oh wow.
That is where I started learning about poultry. Then I had a friend who was a veterinary doctor, of course, so I was equally interacting and getting some knowledge. So I learned in the process.
From 20 beds.
From 20 beds, and currently we have not grown so big, especially for the poultry. We have not grown so big, but currently we have about 527 beds.
Wow, wow! Now that is good. Yeah, you may want to be modest about it, but that is good. Now let me ask you a question, sir. You started with 20 beds from your balcony. Why? Why did you start from your balcony? Wasn't it inconveniencing? Why did you have to start with 20 beds?
Okay, that is where the idea of starting small comes in, and me, I normally
let me pause a bit, because hold that thought. Why I'm asking you this question is because there are so many young people sitting and saying there's nothing for me to do.
Exactly. And
probably they have bigger balconies. In fact, probably they may have resources that can get them more than 20 beds. So I want to understand what prompted you. I want to understand what prompted you to do 20 beds and start there.
Okay, first of all, as someone who is new in the system, I didn't just want to go rent a farm space, a land, or buy a land and start erecting structures immediately without having any prior knowledge of the business.
Yes.
So I had to start so small, so that start at my balcony, so that the business is close to me.
Okay.
I'm able to study the business.
Okay.
I'm able to understand the nitty-gritty of the business, so that by the time I'm moving out from my balcony to a farm outside my compound, and by that time I employ a farm attendant, whatever stories that is going to be coming out from there, I'm already familiar with it.
Okay, so this was an intentional act.
Yes, it was an intentional act.
So what were the challenges you had? Now in comparison to, let's start with the challenges. In comparison to now that you have 500 and something birds, with when you had just 20 beds, what were the challenges that you had?
Okay, some of the challenges I had was the technical aspects, the knowledge, because like I said earlier, I was a novice in the game. So at first I started with that 20 beds. Funny enough, because I started with brooding. I started brooding when they were
from brooding.
Yes, from brooding stage, because I wanted to understand all about the business from the lowest level.
Okay.
So the first 20 beds I bought, I actually lost about 13 of them.
Wow, you lost 13.
I lost 13. It was remaining 7. As a matter of fact, I had to go buy another 20 again.
Wow. And
that was because I think in the early stage where you have to put on charcoal for them, I wasn't able to closely monitor the heat.
Okay.
So the heat at some point, the heat was much on them.
I'm imagining if you had invested and bought maybe 500 at the beginning.
You see, that is one of the, when we get to the benefits of starting small, you get to learn in the process.
Okay.
You get to grow with the process.
So you lost 13 out of 20.
13 out of 20.
Did you cry? Wow, interesting.
I cried. Yes, exactly.
It may not necessarily be physical tears, but I'm sure as a businessman it shook you.
Yes, it was a loss. So there is, no matter how you try to package it, you definitely would feel the loss, and I felt it.
Oh wow, okay.
Which made me to be more careful.
I
tried to understand why. That is when I started sourcing for why did these birds die.
Okay. Now, but let me ask you a question. Is this question that maybe this experimental phase you did, is it not something you would have learned in a book? Maybe bought a book and learned and then start big.
I'm a graduate of business administration and management, and there are a lot of theories we learned in school about business. If I must say, most of those theories are not practicable.
Okay.
It's a different ball game entirely when you start managing business from what you are learning from theories.
Okay.
That is one thing I've gotten to understand.
So your advice now, or what you're saying is, even after reading, going for online classes, going for tutorials, the practical knowledge is necessary.
Exactly. You can't take away that.
and then you got this when you started small.
Exactly.
But okay, anyway, this question I think is because I wanted to ask you, what if you started big? But like, okay, so let's move. I think that question answers itself, because if you started big, you lost 13 out of 20 bets.
That's about over 50%, say 60%. So imagine having 500 bets and you end up losing about
at what level did you lose this?
I lost them when they were 3 weeks.
After feeding them for 3 weeks.
After feeding them for 3 weeks.
Wow. That's so okay. So now let's move because of our time. What are the benefits you feel you have gotten because you started small?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question, and like I pointed out earlier, one of the major benefits I've learned because I started small is because I got the opportunity to learn in the process. I got the opportunity to increase my knowledge, the quest to understand more about the farming process. It was there. And also another benefit I was able to learn also is how to be able to manage my finances in terms of that poultry.
Okay.
How to be able to manage my finances, because at some point, especially in the feeding aspect, if you don't calculate your finances very well, you might end up feeding them more than you should have.
Okay.
So by starting small, I was able to understand, if I'm having 20 birds, this is how many bags they are expected to eat. Okay. This is how much I'm expected to spend from their brooding stage to the point where they will start laying. I was able to understand my finances.
Interesting. Thank you so much for those insights on that. So because as we are wrapping up this session, I'd just like you to give a word of advice. The essence of this episode is to encourage and show people practically, like you mentioned. Okay, let me ask you this last question. What is the time frame from when you had 20 birds to when you are now running 500 and something birds?
That's the time frame is approximately 13 months.
Between 13 months. In 13 months, you are confident enough, and you are now doing 500 and something birds.
Exactly.
And with the way you're saying, you keep on expanding.
Exactly.
You keep on expanding.
Exactly.
Okay, so let me complete that last statement. The benefit or the essence of today's episode is to encourage young people out there. In this TV show, we try to encourage young people to come into agriculture and come into agriculture profitably. So now we are trying to say you can start small to minimize the losses you're having. So I want you to give your final words. What would be your advice to a young person sitting out there and saying, I don't have anything to do?
Okay, so to my viewers out there, what I would basically say is one thing my mentor used to say. He says, the law of gravity does not affect those who climb up. When you jump up, there is every tendency that you will fall, but when you climb up, there is every possibility of you staying up. So starting small is not a weakness. It is not. It gives you an opportunity to be resilient. It gives you an opportunity to learn in the process and become more sustainable. So don't wait till you have 10 million, 20 million. With as low as 50,000 naira, you can go into agriculture.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anoliefo, Group CEO of Dial & Trust Holdings. I love that last part you said. Young people should learn to climb up, not jump up.
Exactly.
Wow, interesting. That will be a wrap for today on agriculture for today and tomorrow. Remember, here we promote smart solutions for greener harvest, and we have been discussing with Mr. CHISOM E. Anoliefo, who is the group CEO of Dial & Trust Holdings. We'll calling it a break for today. See you in the next episode.
In the heart of our fields lies the future of agriculture, sustainable, innovative, and powered by smart solutions. From the rich soil of Africa to high-tech farms around the globe, agriculture is evolving to meet the demands of tomorrow. At the intersection of tradition and technology, we discover smarter ways to grow more, waste less, and harvest greener. Together, we are cultivating a future where every harvest sustains the earth and its